So in the next White Dwarf Magazine, we are getting Kill Team Sentry. But we have no idea what that is or what that means. So time for some wild speculation. I have 3 theories on what that could be, so let's start with the lamest and go to the coolest in that order. So the easy answer is that Sentry is just a series of missions. So this probably wouldn't be anything groundbreaking. I think one thing they could do that would be kind of cool is make it Unbalanced Games. And I don't mean unbalanced in a traditional Games Workshop meaning. I mean unbalanced where the 2 players are trying to do completely different missions. So this means one player could have more equipment than the other. They could be going after different primary objectives, and obviously have different secondary objectives. So the 2 players are playing a fairly different game, make it where the attacker and the defender are really trying to do completely different stuff here. Obviously, this is harder to balance. This could really help either Horde or Elite teams. I don't think it would be big in competitive play, but it would be a pretty fun series of missions. So I think that might be what they're doing here. Alright, theory number 2 is that Sentry is actually a new archetype for Attack Ops. So I think at some point in Kill Team, we could get a new archetype. I think that would be pretty likely. And one reason this might make sense is if one of the new Kill Teams in the new Marok boss that we saw in the new Warzone has a new archetype, it would kind of make sense to retroactively fill that in before that Warzone actually comes out. So if a new archetype came out and it was powerful, it would be very meta-shifting, but it would be a fun way to add some variety to Kill Team. Really shift up how you can approach the game and trying to get those points, and it could help more teams become viable. So to play devil's advocate against that point, my main counter-argument would be that Sentry and Security sound really similar. Just looking at kind of the tactical meaning of those words, there's not enough of a difference where they would really become their own archetypes. So I guess Security could mostly be trying to control your deployment zone and keeping the enemies away from that, while Sentry could be more entire map and board control. So the kind of stuff where you have a model in each quadrant. Just as an example, that kind of stuff. So that brings me to my final theory, and the one I think is the most interesting. And that is that we actually have rules to have an AI on the board. So Glass Half Dead did a video talking about some of this, and I want to respectfully disagree with how I think this would work. Because he was talking about single player or an AI deck, and an AI deck would be awesome. But I don't think Games Workshop will be that creative for a not hyped up White Dwarf release. I think what we're going to get is basically an exact clone out of what we had from the 2018 Kill Team, which actually did have AI in it. Because in March of 2020, not that long ago, in a White Dwarf magazine, we got rules for an AI. And we had rules for an AI in the 2019 annual for the original Kill Team as well. So let's look at how those worked. So these were very powerful single models, and you'd roll to see if they would emerge each turn. And if they did, they were an enemy to everyone. And they would typically charge or attack the closest model. Just to show you how powerful these things were, the old Kill Team was similar to 40k, where most things had 1 or 2 wounds, at least most infantry Kill Team type models. And this thing had 7, and it would regen wounds every turn, so you basically couldn't kill it. Which, that was the Amble. We also had the Archivist, and they also both had this little diagram where you would roll to see what direction they would go if there was nothing for them to attack. So another small hint, and kind of a reach for why this might be happening, is the Ambles from Blackstone Fortress, which is the same set some of our new Trader Guardsmen will be from. So they've shown they're willing to take stuff from that set and apply it to Kill Team. So not only is this the most interesting outcome, I think it's decently likely, to be honest. And that's because they're not coming up with any new rules. They already had this in the old Kill Team. They basically just have to copy and paste it into the new ones and tweak it a little bit and come up with a new stat line from the monsters. Which I don't know what they would use as kind of the AI this time. Maybe they use the same models, but I think it would be something that's in current production, so you could still actually use it. So kind of my order of likeliness here is I think just new missions is the most likely, because it's easy. Then I think the AI is actually decently likely. And the new archetype, like I said, because it's like security, I don't really see that happening. But it could happen. That's my number 3 here. So I've heard other theories that completely disagree with mine. Like, we're getting single player, there's going to be player-controlled AI, stuff like that. Well, not AI, but player-controlled third parties. So let me know down in the comments what your theory is on what Kill Team Century could be, or if you've heard any interesting leaks about it. Like I said, entirely wild speculation. We'll know here in a few weeks when the White Dwarf actually comes out. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.